Marcel asked. Marcel, this is from you?
Yes, 师傅.
Shifu, as I earn more, I find myself spending more as well. Any advice on how to keep my expenses in check? On behalf of a grateful nation, we thank you for your contribution to the country's economy and GDP. As you earn more, you find yourself spending more. Yes, that's how it is. That's how we tend to be. Yeah. So you want to keep your expenses in check. Why do you want to keep your expenses in check?
If not, then there's no point in earning more. It's like nothing changes.
So what change do you want to see? Are you hoping to see?
An increase in the savings, but yeah, an increase in the savings. Like the rate is higher.
Oh, so you want to increase to save more.
Yeah.
And why do you want to save more?
So I can don't work, retire early, something like that.
You want to retire earlier.
Yeah.
What is meant by retirement for you?
Well, when I don't need to.
Besides not working.
Sorry?
Besides not working, what does retirement mean for you?
I can do what I want without working.
Without working. Yeah. What is it that you want to do now that you cannot do until you retire?
Well, if I don't have income, I would not be able to pay for my rent or my food.
Yeah. So what is it that you want to do that you cannot do now, but you can do when you retire?
That I can do now.
That you can't do now, but you can do it when you retire. That's why you want to retire. If it's something that you can do now and you can do when you retire, then there's no point in retiring, right?
Well, I think I cannot pay for my basic survival. Yeah.
Without working.
Yeah. Yes.
I see. So let me put on my financial planner cap. Well, there's this Chinese saying, 不要入不敷出, right? Your income and your outcome, your expenditure, yeah, your income, your 入 and your expenses, 出, yeah, they must commensurate. So your income must be more than your outcome. Yeah. Actually, the Buddha also mentioned this. Yeah, the Buddha also mentioned this. So the reason why I ask you about the why you want to keep your expenses in check is sometimes when we start planning on something that is a bit long term, we may lose sight of why we want to do it at the first place. Yeah. And end up thinking that the intermediate goal is our goal. Yeah. For example, for many people, paying bills is a necessity, right? Yeah. You don't pay bills, then you don't get to stay in the house. You don't get to have food. You don't get to have internet for that matter. You cannot attend Zoom class. Yeah. But paying bills is not our aim, right? Paying bills is not our aim. Yeah. So because there are some people who will end up getting so caught up with paying bills. And in order to pay bills, they have to work hard. So they end up spending an inordinate amount of time working hard. And then they forget why they work hard. Yeah. Or rather, maybe the sight and the vision of why they work hard becomes diminished because they become so preoccupied with earning more money. Then sometimes we wrongly equate having more money with what we want. Yeah. Like if you were to go further, and this beyond myself, if you were to ask everybody, why do you want to retire? I mean, one of the key things is then you don't have to work, right? So why don't you want to work? Oh, because work is not what I want to do. Yeah. And because there are other things I want to do that I'd rather be doing than work. Yeah. So there are many ways to skin the cat. One way is to say, okay, let me try to amass as much wealth as I can, and then I can stop working. Yeah. And do what I want to do. Yeah. Another way is to just change what you want to do to include work. to find meaning in work, to find interest in work, then you stop working. Yeah, I think the Zhuangzi or which Zi mentioned something like that. Yeah, love your job and you will not work another day. Yeah, I don't know whether it's fair to say this, but for me, even when I was working, I don't feel like I was working. Yeah, because it was my hobby to do what I was doing, be it coding, or to um, conduct workshops or to give talks at conferences. That, I mean, I enjoy doing that even back then. Yeah, but of course the subject matter is different. Subject matter was, um, technology. Um, yeah, retirement was never in my mind in the past. Oh. So that's one other way. One other way is, because a good financial planner must show you all the options. Oh. So one other way is to find meaning in what you are doing, or maybe find something else that you can more easily find meaning to do. Yeah. Um, or that you find something that you have more interest. So that aside, yeah, because if you can do that, then we don't have to solve the retirement problem because you're already retired effectively. Yeah. So, but back to the thing about how to keep my expenses in check. So you notice that there's a few things. Your end goal is to do what you want to do. And in order to do that, you currently feel that you need to retire because otherwise you cannot pay your bills. And then to retire, then you need to amass more money. And one of the ways to amass more money is to keep your expenses in check. Yeah. So you must keep in mind, your aim is not simply to keep your expenses in check. Of course, I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't keep our expenses in check, but must always keep the end goal in mind. Yeah. Otherwise, but otherwise, we may get stuck at any point in time and think that that is the end goal. Yeah. In one of the sutta, the Buddha mentioned the different stages where a cultivator may get stuck. A person may practice the precepts very well, and then because of the precepts, get a good reputation, get fame, honor, get material support, and so on and so forth. And as a result, he becomes haughty, and he thinks that is all he's done already, and then he will get stuck there. But then there are those who, even observing precepts, they don't become haughty, they don't get caught up with all the offerings and material support, and then he continued to strive on and develop concentration. And there are those who get stuck at concentration and think that that's all that they need to do. Yeah, and so on, up to those who see that every stage of the way, that is not what they are aiming for, but it leads to liberation ultimately. Yeah. So keep this in mind. Okay, keep this in mind. So then, how to keep your expenses in check? We come back down to this question: how to keep it in check? There's no one easy solution that works for everybody. Yeah. What didn't work for me? What didn't work for me when I was in my 20s, like around your age, was I basically buy whatever I want to buy. Yeah. When I was in my 20s, I was one of those crazy people who buy the first color LCDs handphone. I was one of those crazy person who would upgrade the hardware of the computer every 3 to 6 months. Or in fact, whenever a newer thing come up, I'll just upgrade. Yeah. I was one of those crazy folks who would uh, think of buying a phaser printer. Yeah, a phaser printer is something that is between, is something like a laser printer, but a color phaser printer, which costs like, don't know, 6,000 or consider, and then I didn't buy. And because my one of my colleague, in fact, he's one of the managing consultant, he had this plasma TV. We went to his house, and I was like, wow, this is interesting. Plasma TV back then cost $10,000. I don't know whether I told my mom or my sis, but before I even get my bonus, I was planning, okay, this year's bonus should be at least this much. And then plus the increment, and maybe I might get promoted. Then everything in plus that month's pay, I will still have spare change, after I buy that. Like, wow. So already, yeah. Then in the end, take a step back, and then thought, do I really need partly because in the end the years everything in wasn't enough to buy and then still have spare change. Yeah. And then at some point I even go and get a car. But of course in the end when I become among everything. So from my bad example, if you avoid all this, you avoid just trying to get the latest, greatest thing. You avoid trying to satisfy your every whims and fancy, then you can keep your expenses in check. Yeah. Of course, there are other sort of institutional method, such as forced saving. Yeah. So back in the company, I also kind of forced myself to do saving by putting about 10% of the pay or more into the stock options. Yeah. So it's like every month, if I don't see this money at all. it just go into the stock options directly. Yeah. To me, that's one way of doing it. So by forced saving. So various banks have this kind of scheme where you basically do a gyro, and every month they will just take a chunk away. Yeah. You cannot save if you try to save after you spend whatever you want to spend. Yeah. You need to save first, then you spend what you need to spend. Yeah. It's just like cultivation. There was this senior. He was telling every time, now and then, every few weeks. To me, it was a bit too frequent. But every few weeks, you ask me, when are you going to go for your retreat? When are you going to go for a retreat? Then I'm like, I just came back last week. It's like, yeah, but when are you going to go for a retreat? Like, my mom like, you want me to go for retreat or for the whole year? Just tell me lah. Keep on like, I come back for 1 week, then I ask you, when are you go for retreat? Then at some point, I told him, I said, it's a bit tough lah, because I have all these classes, in place. So then he told me this. He said, you cannot arrange for your retreat after you have slotted in all your classes. You must arrange your retreats first. Then your classes go around your retreats. Yeah. And I was like, what? Yeah, because bear in mind, it's not that I tell him, I can't go for retreats because I got this holiday plan, and then I got this outing, and then I got this barbecue to attend. No, these are classes. These are Dharma work, and yet despite that, he still tell me, you need to slot in your own retreat first. Yeah. So this is actually a parallel to the very famous story of the important things in life that you need to put in first. Yeah, the story of this, don't know, teacher or mother or whoever, basically you have stones and pebbles and sand, okay? And then the teacher asked the students, okay, put in the sand, and then you put in the pebbles, and then when you try to put in the stone, you find that it overflow. It's bigger than the continent. Then later on, the teacher asked them to pour out everything, and this time around, put in the stone first, then the pebble, then the sand. Then it actually fills up just nicely. Yeah. And also the moral of the story is you need to put in the important things first, the big things first. Yeah. Then after you put in the small things. Kind of similar principles. Yeah. But still, I must highlight something. This is assuming that the end goal is worthy. Yeah. This is assuming that the end goal is worthy for you to do all this in order to retire earlier. Yeah. That means you must know what you're going to do when you retire. Let's say you manage to do it and you retire at 45. Yeah. 45 is pretty early. Yeah. 10 years, 20 years earlier than the national average, right? Now we are talking about pushing the retirement age up to 67 or 70 or something. To me, a part of me also wonder like, how can that be good, right? This is not about criticizing policy or discussing policy, but just my own thoughts about what is life about. Yeah. But on the other hand, I also wonder, for most people, they don't know what to do after they retire. They don't have anything to do, because by the time you're 65, for many people, they are like, because they spend almost their whole life just working, they may not know what they want to do. And there's only that much you can do to 跳土风舞 every day, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. To me, if you spend the bulk of your life doing something you think is not meaningful, and you never really do anything that you feel is meaningful, how are you going to suddenly, like overnight, okay, tomorrow I'm going to find something meaningful to do? Because ultimately, it's when you do something that you feel is meaningful, that you will feel is worth your time. And especially when you are 65 or 45 for that matter, increasingly your sense of time becomes shorter and shorter. Not just because the remaining years we have is shorter, yeah, but also because of perception. Yeah, those who are past 20 or past 30, do you not feel that the days and weeks or months pass faster than when you were in your early 20s? And then while I'm saying this, those of you who are in your 40s and 50s will be like, don't talk about that. You're nothing. By the time you reach 40 plus 50, then you know. Then there are those of you who are in your 60s and 70s, like, you shut up. No, you shut up. No? One day for me, it's just like that. Like, I don't know what happened, and then at night already. And then maybe there are those of you who are, anybody in your 80s? Nobody in your 80s. Yeah. Those who are in your 80s will be like, wait until you die, then you know. So to me, all this, to retire early, to check keep your expenses in check, all these are just means. Yeah, all these are just means. It's all about how you want to spend your life, really. Yeah, money is just incidental. Yeah, the only resource we have is our life. Our life is basically the result of the merits we have accumulated in the past life. And that is non-renewable. As in, the one that we have accumulated is non-renewable, but we can amass new merits in a sense. Yeah. But of course, in the larger scheme of things, even this is just a means to an end. The ultimate end is Nibbana, right? Yeah. But so if you keep the larger picture in mind, which is how can I make my life more worthwhile, Yeah, more worthwhile. Then while keeping your expenses in check, you will also have to ask yourself, are the expenses worthwhile? Because if it's worthwhile, even if it means that you have to retire later, it's worthwhile. For example, in some cases, some people, they can't retire early because they have to spend that money. They have to, yeah, because that money is used to take care of the family, for example. Yeah, they have to spend on their parents, parents have to spend on a child, and they find it worthwhile. And when you find it worthwhile, you don't mind retiring later or not retiring at all. As in retiring only when it's like the usual 60 plus, then you will not live your life feeling like, by the time you're 50 plus 60, then you be envious of those who retire earlier. You are envious of people like this, like that. Yeah, rather you'll be like, yeah, yeah. And even if by the time you retire, you don't have much left. Yeah, you just have enough to get by. You'll feel like, well, if I have to do it again, I will do it again. Because it was all worthwhile. Because I brought life to people around me. Yeah, I gave them life so that they can find meaning. And instead of me just trying to find happiness for myself, Yeah. Because otherwise, we get caught up with all the steps, the means, and we can get lost. And we can end up spending our life just trying to save enough. And this becomes what is some people coin in as the poverty mentality, of feeling poor, feeling inadequate, feeling that you don't have enough. Yeah. And the scary thing about that is it can become ingrained in us, such that maybe by the time you're 40, you actually have enough. Or maybe, who knows, Marcel, I don't know how much net worth you have, but who knows, maybe for other people, your net worth is enough to retire comfortably already. But then once you get into that, I'm poor, I don't have enough, then even if you have enough, you can't retire, Case in point, I had this very interesting conversation with this colleague back when I was in R&D. So one day we were in the pantry and we were getting our drinks. And then he just suddenly, very casually say, you know how much you need to retire? And then I was like, I mean, I was a fresh grad, 25, 26, And then suddenly he asked me, how much do you think you need to retire? And then I was like, don't know. Like, to begin with, my whole life, I don't really have that kind of like strong like passion to earn money. Yeah. In fact, I had to be cajoled into getting my first job. I didn't have a problem getting my first job. Yeah, but it's more like I was just crazy about writing programs and by then playing games also. So when he posed me this question, I was like, wow, that really came from the left field, I have no idea what that is. So I asked him like, so I don't know, like how much? Then he said, you need 10 million. And I was like, what? my yeah, that was my look, like most of your face, yeah, that's my look. I was like, huh? I mean, to me, if you have 1 million, well, that's like a crazy amount of money already, back then. That's 1998. Yeah. That's some 20 over years ago. 20 over years ago, 1 million is quite a lot of money. I mean, even now it's quite a lot of money. That's why it's crazy when I hear people buying houses for a few million. Like nowadays, like, huh, you mean there are so many millionaires in Singapore? I guess with inflation now. And then I was like, and he explained to me that, no, you don't understand. You're now single. Yeah, you don't have a family to take care of, you don't know, And his 10 million is on top of already having a house paid for, car and so on, He said, because you have your family, your wife, your children, and then your parents, you have to take care of everything, Oh, okay. And when you think that that is like crazy sum of money, you know what happened? About approximately 6 months later, out of the blue, he again asked me, do you know how much you need to retire? At that point in time, I don't know whether he remember the conversation 6 months ago, but I remember. So still, I was like, and perhaps I may have suggested his original sum, like 10 million. Then you know what he said? No, that's not enough. I was like, huh? He said 20 million. Wow, his compounding effect is like, if he opened a bank, I want to put my money inside. Like within 6 months, 100% increment, Yeah, and then he repeated the whole same sales pitch. Yeah, fortunately, he was not trying to sell me some cool aid or something, Yeah. But that conversation left a very deep imprint in me. It got me to see the perspective of something that's totally new from me. Because for the most part, my family, we don't really hanker after money. Not that we have a lot of money to begin with back then, but we are just like, la 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 la, while the whole world is like, yeah. Then we're like, la 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 la. The whole world is like, hey, go mine, let's go. Then we're like, hey, look at this pond, this is interesting. My family, we don't really know it. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think maybe for many people who come across us in our life, they may think like these people are stupid, like, are they wasting their life? What? In fact, I had a friend in uni who told me that her father told her that I'm stupid for spending so much time in an ECA. Waste of time. What do you get from it? You don't get money, you don't get paid for it, you don't even get any like credit points for your studies or anything. And I'm like, what? 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 Why do you need to do things for money, Yeah. So anyway, that conversation, that colleague gave me a very fresh perspective. And from him, I understood how there will be people who get so driven by their need for money that they can really be unhappy with themselves. Yeah. So there are many ways to keep your expenses in check. Tips like whatever you put into your cart, don't buy immediately. Buy the next day. Don't buy things after 9 p.m. Yeah, after 9 p.m., most of our purchases are all impulse buy. Yeah, do y'all notice last time the television is always played at night? Do y'all notice it's usually late at night then they play television? Part of the reason is because airtime is cheaper. Yeah. The other reason is because they did studies. Most people at that hour, our cognitive load is already over our limit. That means we have been making decisions the whole day. By the time it's late at night, our brain are half dead already. Cannot really make good decisions anymore. So they can just they can just flash you this and say, look at this. This is what you need in your life. Yeah, look at your teeth. Then they show what people, cannot floss, cannot. Now with this, wow, you can they say, buy now, call now, you get 3, not 1, not 2, but 3. And in fact, call now and you get a beautiful acrylic holder. What kind of rubbish, Yeah, for a special price of $19.99. But then you go Watson's, this one maybe like just $5. Yeah, so don't buy things at night. Yeah. And if you put anything in the cart, wait for 2-3 days. Yeah. And then ask yourself, if you don't have this thing, can you live with it? But on top of all that, keep all those considerations that I've mentioned so that you spend more meaningfully and you save more meaningfully. And in this way, most importantly, you live your life meaningfully. There are some comments here. I'm going to just read them. I have some things on the bucket list in mind, but I'm afraid of this leading to me making life decisions frivolously, like backpacking, joining a mission team, or breathing in the world alone and at my own pace. Breathing in the world alone. But I'm afraid when I go back, I would be at the losing end in terms of finance and stability. I find it very interesting. A lot of young people these days, they have this thing called bucket list. You know what is a bucket list? Bucket list is a very Western American term, yeah, because it is linked to the expression "kick the bucket." That means you die already. Yeah, so bucket list means the things you want to do before you die. Yeah, and you will notice that for most young people, the bucket list is seldom about providing for the family. The bucket list is seldom. I seldom. Maybe it's a selection bias. Maybe it's because those people who are loud enough, who are brazen enough to share to the whole world, tend to be those who are chasing some interesting dreams. I was going to say crazy. Yeah, or maybe for many people, they have their own private bucket list, which are more private things, but they find this not so interesting to share. So they share some common, very typical, oh, I want to go on a solo trip, things like that. And I have students in their 20s who really feel like they must go for a solo trip. And in my mind, I'm like, why? Give me a reason why you need to go on a solo trip. Like, oh, because I want to be independent. Well, then just stop eating off your parents. Yeah. Stop getting your maid to wash your things. You want to be independent, do things yourself. Yeah. You want to be independent, stop texting your father to ask your father to come and pick you up. Be independent that way. Don't tell yourself, well, the rest of your life you are still like, cannot get it together. Don't help to pay for bills at home, and then yet you want to save money to go on a solo trip to prove to yourself, don't prove to yourself or to experience or whatever. Basically put yourself in harm's way for to me. Like, it's different if you say, I would like to go and work overseas. And even that, there are a lot of caveats. Going on a solo trip, no matter how solo it is different from going to another place to work. Whenever you go on a trip, even backpacking, I tell you, it's all curated. No, Shifu, I plan my own trip. Let me ask you. If you bump into someone on the MRT today, if you bump into someone in the MRT, or you see your neighbors, how do you treat them? Versus if you see someone on a backpack and then with a map, how do you treat them? Of course, you treat them differently. If a person with a map, backpack and everything can tell you that, and then look a bit shaven or not, maybe women no need to shave, and then ask you for directions, of course you'll be more friendly, you'll be more helpful, and they say, oh yeah, come, let me show you a way. So quite naturally, selection bias. If you go on a trip, everybody look at you, foreigner. Either two things. They'll just be more friendlier to you because you're away from home. They want to help you. This is our compassion nature, or they see you as a source of income. In their mind, maybe they are thinking, on behalf of a grateful nation, we thank you for the foreign investment, Yeah, because you are tourists. Color means to cynical. Okay? I'm cynical. Yeah. So when I go on trips, pilgrimages, I don't feel anything when I don't have that kind of like romantic idea that, oh, all these countries, look at them, they are so happy. I'm like, no, I don't think that they are any more happier than us or less. I think they'll be as happy as they are able to be not be have craving and attachment. A lot of people have this wrong idea. Oh, I want to go and and then they go there, then they come back, and they say, wow, these people without all the things we have, they are so much happier. Really? People in the Buddha's time should be happiest, right? Because back then they don't have anything that even the third world countries have. Right? Correct or not? In ancient Rome, in ancient Greece, they have even lesser, right? Technology-wise, material-wise. Yeah, people back then, they're just trying to make their crops grow, you know. Today, when there's the flood in China, people are concerned about loss of their possession of dying, right? Back in the days, just a heavier rain, all crops gone, that's it. Famine. No rain, famine. When is the last time you heard that there's famine because of drought or what? Yeah, maybe the price increased a bit. And a lot of times the price increase is because the producers cannot make enough money, so they charge us more. Not because there's not enough to go around. There's more than enough to go around. A lot of the grains we are eating are in granary. You think the rice is directly from the from the farm? Oh, this one is fresh. 3 days ago they just no. Most of, except for maybe Cai Xing from Malaysia, you know, like these are very perishable. Yeah. So I don't have this kind of romantic idea that, oh, you go to this place, unless you are saying, I want to go there to work for 3 years, live there as a resident for 3 years. And even then, in the first year, you get special treatment, maybe 6 months. The first 6 months, you get special treatment. After that, when they know that you are there for long, you're just one of us, like, why must I treat you differently? Yeah. Where's the market? Told you last week, what's your problem? Right? So, but back to the thing about bucket list. Joining a missions team. Yeah. If joining a missions team is just joining once, then I mean, okay, like, it's still a good experience, you know. But the question is, what is the mission, right? Is a mission to just go and climb a mountain? My mind cannot wrap around people who go and climb a mountain, and then they climb one mountain, then after they say, oh, I want to challenge myself to climb the other mountain. I'm like, 好好的路不要走，要去爬山。Like, if you stay in some countries where, you know, nowadays on YouTube, you can see the life of people. You don't have to go and travel. You can go and see that there are small kids who have to really go and cross a river on a rope and then go and climb a mountain just to go to school. 七早八早, Then I say that for them, climbing the mountain is meaningful. As Singaporeans go and climb mountain, on a day-to-day basis, go sing song, buy things, also don't ask a maid, go and buy something. Yeah. Lao Ma want to go out to buy something, or Lao Pa or Ama Kong Ama want to buy something. You go every time, go. You know, and then, oh, wow, I'm training for what? Training to go for to climb mountain. Sorry, now, it sounds like I'm very judgmental. Yeah, I am. Okay, so deal with it. Okay, I am. Yeah, I mean, that's my opinion. Okay, you cannot say that that's wrong. Yeah, that's just my opinion. If you think that that's meaningful to you, go ahead, pick yourself up, go and climb all the mountain you want. But to me, yeah, so yeah, it's okay. However you want to spend your life, not spend money. How you want to spend your life, that's your choice. Yeah, but to me, if you ask me, not that anybody asked me, but if you ask me, some of these bucket lists are really not worth the time. Not worth the time. Yeah. Instead of going and climb the mountain, go and spend time climbing the mountain, the Sing Song mountain, with your elderly parents or Akong Ama. Yeah. Rather spend the time with your parents, your family. You know, like our parents, our grandparents, depending on circumstances, they spend time with us when we were really helpless. Baby, just down that head also cannot tilt, you know. Yeah, they spend time on us. Yeah, the least we can do is spend time with them. Yeah. Sorry, when I see some of these topics, then I have to see the world as it is. To see the world as it is, you mean we're not part of the world? Yeah, we are in the world. There's no world outside that we have to go out and see. We are in the world already. Yeah, every day going to work, that's part of what the world is. You know, taking the train and then the train being late, that is part of the world. You know, going to the lift and then missing the lift, that's part of the world. Or going into the lift and reaching the lift door and then the lift just nice open, that's also part of the world. You know, waking up just on time is part of the world. Waking up late is also part of the world. Presenting something and the boss, everybody is like, wow, amazing idea. Yeah, it's part of the world. Presenting and then your boss criticize it like shit, ask you to go and rework over the weekend, that's part of the world. Stop trying to find, I mean, this is not just to Ling, but to everybody. Stop trying to find another world out there. What are you hoping to find? You think those people in the countries we visit, they don't experience the difficulties we go through? You think in Bhutan everything works perfectly? I have to bring Bhutan because a lot of Buddhists have this crazy idea that Bhutanese are all like you know, it's like going to Smurfland or Disneyland. They're all like la 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 la. And mind you, it is not because, oh, Western media go in, internet go in, then they become not so happy. It's not. If it is not, if it is the case that, oh, without modern society stepping in, without internet and all this, well, they were perfectly happy. Then they don't have to have happiness index, right, to begin with. Have you ever thought about it? The fact that they have to have happiness index is because that is still a potential issue. Think about it. Where's my oximeter? Somewhere in the house. Think about it. 1 year ago, 2 years ago, how many of you heard of an oximeter? Nobody. But because now, potentially, you may not breathe properly. That's why you need an oximeter. So even Bhutan, they have a happiness index because potentially people can be unhappy. Not putting them down, not suggesting that they're worse off than us. In any case, they could be happier than us. But to think that they are simply happy because of their circumstances, because they don't have all the things we have, that's our own romantic idea. Because if that is the case, then the Buddha's teaching shouldn't be Noble Eightfold Path. The Buddha's teaching should be just live poorly. But people in the Buddha's time, they were living in an agrarian society. They still had the suffering. That's why the Buddha had to leave the palace and then strive and then attain enlightenment. And so the Noble Eightfold Path goes beyond whether you have this or you have that, whether you don't have this or you don't have that. It's about whether you cling on to having or not having. 愿消三障诸烦恼，
消三障诸烦恼，
愿得智慧真明了，
愿得智慧真明了，
不愿罪障悉消除，
不愿罪障悉消除，
世世常行菩萨道。
世世常行菩萨道。
阿弥陀佛。
阿弥陀佛。
Till we meet again, may be guided and protected by the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And as always,
乖乖。
just
have a meaningful day ahead. Take care, stay safe.
谢谢师父。
Bye bye.